It's a little bit like the Leyland brothers on steroids. Pauline Hanson is zipping across Queensland. Pauline Hanson from Pauline Hanson's One Nation. This is a truly unique experience. Thanks for joining us.
Well, we're on the road. It's coming down to the wire, so every minute counts. And another big trip that we're doing on the road, Mike, so it's going really well. Very important to me.
It's a beautiful place, Queensland, too. I just never ceases to amaze me how, from the inland to the coastal areas, it's just has got so much potential. But it's a pity, though, that this potential is not being realised by the Palaszczuk government, or even at times the LNP. Look, they just can't see the big picture, can they?
You know, Mike, what I feel is lacking with politicians is no vision for the future. You know, when Joe Peterson was in, he had vision for the state. He got it going. He got investment. He really got the state movement. Buildings were going up, productivity. But at the moment, it's just like we're band-aiding everything. And I've travelled the country quite extensively. Last weekend, I was up at the Torres Straits, Thursday Islands, and now we're outside of Maryborough. A lot of the state that I travel and go to, it looks tired. It's worn out. You know, the money has been put into it. We've got the farming sector that's failing. We don't have water security. It's a real concern, and that's why Queenslanders are pretty much fed up.
The new Bradford Scheme has been long supported by One Nation. Are the major parties, including the LNP, really serious about it if they get in, or is this just another one of those election promises?
It is the same old rhetoric, and actually it's trying to counteract One Nation. We've come out and said it, so anyway, they must jump on board because of the support that we are receiving with it. Do they have the will to do it? No, they don't. Palaszczuk has proven that she's not interested in water security. She wasn't up front and taking the money that the federal government handed to them for the Rookwood Weir and Rockhampton. She wants to bring in the rivers, pristine rivers legislation. She said, look, Labor aren't interested in the Bradford Scheme. Look, it's a big project. It will devote the waters from North Queensland through Central Queensland. Instead of running the original plan into Lake Eyre, I believe it should be run down into the Murray-Darling and water southern parts of Australia as well. The LNP, they're saying they'll do a feasibility study. Feasibility study was done into it in 2018. So there's no need for feasibility studies. And actually, I've heard from some of the members, they're not interested in doing it. They're not interested in the Bradford Scheme. So if we want productivity in the state, we want farming to continue, we want to look after rural and regional areas, we have to have water.
In your view, what are the most important elements of the scheme?
Well, it's giving that water security. See, in Queensland, 20% of our water is foreign owned. So what the governments have done, federal and state, if you go back to Howard separated water from land in 2004. So if you bought up land, you owned the water. He separated that. And then it was licensed, so people actually buy those water licenses and the amount of water that you could actually have. A lot of the farmers didn't realise when they had water licenses, they sold it. Now they're finding that they can't grow their crops, they can't do anything because of lack of water. Because we're a dry nation, it is imperative that we have that water. With increased population over the period of time, no government has really put in the infrastructure to allow for the increased population and what we need for farming.
Do we need more support from the feds to get this project moving faster? I mean, to say moving faster, it hasn't moved, so that's sort of a contradiction in itself.
Feds are reluctant to do it. I was hoping they would have something in the budget. They haven't. They've put in for some dams, and the biggest dam they're going to put in is outside Stanthorpe, and that's about 12 gigalitres. So that's only 12,000 billion litres, which is next to nothing. And they're not interested in doing it. Like I said, by water, and I believe that they're looking at privatisation of water. And I'm totally opposed to that. Water should be a commodity accessible by all Australians to utilise. And it shouldn't be open to foreign ownership. And there should be a national register, but the federal government are reluctant to put up a national register who actually owns water. So you've got people who are owning it who have no interest in land, they don't work the land, they've only bought it because it makes them a lot of money. That is so wrong in a country like this. That's why I push for water security. We need to put in those water resources.
Look, you've got major concerns about Labor and their commitment to water and electricity infrastructure. Can you tell us about your concerns?
Right, electricity. See, if you go North Queensland, there's only one provider of electricity, and it's not good enough. We as a taxpayer subsidise those people in North Queensland for their electricity. I think it's to tune about $600 million a year. We need to actually put in sustainable power, diversification of power. I'm not anti-wind power and I'm not anti-solar, but it doesn't provide the base load that we need. We can only get that from our coal-fired power stations. It is being painted as not the way to go because it's destroying our atmosphere. That's incorrect. The new coal-fired power stations are 90% emissions-free. We've got countries all around the world now who have tried the solar and wind, are now putting in new coal-fired power stations. We have the coal, yet we're exporting it overseas. It's destroying our industries, manufacturing, jobs, cost of living is going up. And we've got one of the highest cost of power in the world, yet we have all the resources here in Australia. So it's governments have driven this because they're paying billions of dollars in subsidies to foreign companies to come out here and set up their companies. If we want competition in this country, government should not be paying for supply of power to other companies.
You've been travelling a lot around Queensland, as I said before, the Leyland brothers on steroids,
Yes.
and driven quite safely by James, who I hope is not speeding. What does the state most urgently need with COVID still around? Slow economic growth worldwide and now problems with China trade. That's possibly hitting more of our key exports. So what do we need to do?
All right, I'll just tell you, we have parked while I'm talking to you, Mike. So all good there, that front. Look, COVID has been used as a scaremongering campaign for a lot of people, and people saying, oh, well, we've got to stick with Anastasia. She kept us safe. That's a load of rubbish. She never kept you safe. These COVID deaths are not necessarily deaths because of COVID. They've actually died with the COVID, not because of COVID. And that's not being truthful with the people. COVID has made an impact on our state, like I said, with the economy, but it's only been able to survive as such because of being coughed up by the federal government. That debt has to be paid back. Now they're talking about putting up the GST. Now, that I'm totally opposed to. You can't increase taxes to the Australian people. And the GST, if we look at it, the federal government is in debt for nearly $1.2 trillion. If we look at the GST, all that money, if we do introduce a GST, all the money goes to the states. It doesn't pay down federal government debt because COVID-19. So what you're doing, you're going to hand more money to the states who have been ill-prepared or cannot manage the economy, especially Anastasia Palaszczuk and the Labor government. So what we need to do is look at where we're travelling. Productivity. They're destroying the farming sector. Cane growers are going under. We're losing that industry. And I just feel that we need to look at trying to reduce or get rid of payroll tax. Now, payroll tax creates less employment because they're paying a tax on the number of people they employ. I'd like to actually get rid of payroll tax. Give incentives to industries and manufacturing to start up in Queensland. They'll come from down south. They'll come to Queensland to start up industries and manufacturing. We need to look at our free trade agreements with other countries and, if need be, put tariffs back on that will protect our own industries and manufacturing.
Look, we don't get much from the media. That's probably the understatement. It seems to be very left and very narrow-minded, to say the least. Now, that's globally, so it's not just here in Australia. Can you tell us what Queenslanders in rural and non-metropolitan areas, people in small businesses, manufacturing and services are feeling right now?
Well, you have some businesses that are actually powering ahead, and the COVID has actually increase their sales. They're doing extremely well, like Bunnings and Harvey Normans and JB Hi-Fi and some of these ones, because they really weren't affected and they weren't shut down like a lot of other small businesses. As I've travelled around, the big problem with a lot of businesses, they can't get staff. And they're doing long hours. The employers have to work themselves because of this reason. The JobKeeper and JobSeeker, although it was very good in the very beginning, what it's done is made people reliant on the welfare system. Their attitude is, oh, well, why do I have to go to work? I'm making more money now, paid by the government. Why should I go and get a job? So this is not good for our economy, and it's not good for people's state of mind. It's this handout mentality has to stop. People have to realise that money's got to come from somewhere. You know, it's either your family, your neighbour, who's paying for your way of life. And I think that we need to take a hard stance on this, and it can't keep going on. So the COVID has been used as a scaremongering campaign. People are playing up on it. They're quite happy to be sitting around, have their lifestyle, and expect someone else to pay for it. But we're going to end up handing on a huge debt to our future generations, and that concerns me because we can't pay down the debt. It's called debt for equity. Someone will come looking for their money, and we may lose our resources, our land, or who knows. But we need to wake up to ourselves.
One Nation has candidates in a large number of seats in the Queensland election. Which are the seats we should watch for possible upsets?
Look, if you go down to the southeast corner, more so Mike, because, you know, the southeast corner has just been brainwashed by the Greens and by the Labor Party, full of public servants. But I think, you know, there are pockets of people are starting to wake up. So if you head north of Brisbane, if you look at Gympie, Maryborough, and then you go further north to Rockhampton and Keppel, Whitsundays and Cook. And even Thuringowa in Townsville. So there are some very strong parts of Queensland that One Nation is polling well. We feel that we're very good. But look, I don't always believe the polls. They had us last election at 3%. We end up pulling 13% at the moment. They've got us on about 12%. So they don't indicate the truth of how people are feeling.
Look, while you're on this trip, and I know you're very busy getting to the next point, one of the fun things about driving, this is sort of a sidebar, is when I used to drive from Melbourne to Mildura, I used to always stop at Witchyproof for probably the greasiest burger and best cup of coffee and chips ever had. Now, we need some culinary advice here from either you or your co-pilot. And actually, you're the co-pilot. He's the pilot. James is the pilot. Have you found any great places for a burger that's to die for, and the best coffee on your trips around Queensland?
I hate to disappoint people, but I'm not a real big coffee drinker. I enjoy my instant. You might be shocked by that.
Same here.
I'm going to be upfront. I like my Moccona, so anyway, or my cup of tea.
Yes.
But yes, look, I've got to be honest. I get fed up with going into these shops and they will not make the coffee hot.
You got to have it boiling, don't you?
Yes. I'm from the old school and I want extra hot.
Yes.
And they will not give it to me, and I've said, I'm over this. So anyway.
And I always have it though, light milk. But what about burgers? What about a great burger?
I love a good steak sandwich, and I love a great meat pie. But I tell you what, I had a fantastic pizza, one of the best I've ever had.
Oh, really?
And that was actually, yes, at the Cooktown RSL. Fantastic.
It's a long way to go for a pizza, but maybe it's just worth it. And if once the borders open up, once Nana Anna stops this crap, once we can get the thing moving again, people can start to travel up far north, and what a magnificent part of the world. And then maybe if they mention your name, we can get that slice of pizza at 10% off.
Well, anyway, it'll be worthwhile a trip to go up there, but it was absolutely fantastic. So Cooktown RSL for a great pizza, but I love a good pie.
Yeah, same here.
I am a pie eater, and I go and test all these pies around the place. Not good for the waistline, but I do enjoy a good pie.
Do you like the square ones or the round ones? I like the square ones.
No, I never thought about it.
There's
Most
a
people,
difference.
most people
I mean,
have.
there's a difference. I mean, the square one is not as thick as the round one, and it's got really oniony meat in it. I mean, that's isn't it terrible? Look at that. Jenny Craig will be getting back to you and I in no time.
Look, it's nice to have, take the fun out of, you know,
Mm.
it's good to just have a bit of a chat about something different that normal people get away from the politics on
Yep.
the road. Politicking is what everyone on the road goes through, don't they? Whether
Yep.
they're going to have a good coffee or a good pie or places that you go to. But I've got to say, I've travelled Queensland quite extensively. There are some fantastic cafes and restaurants I've eaten at, and I've been in the food business. It's not an easy gig.
No, it's
It's
tough,
a
isn't
lot
it?
of hard. It is a lot of hard work, and I take my hat off to these people. So it's I'd say to people out there, get out there, travel around, go and see our country, say hi to these people, leave a few dollars there. It goes a long way
It does.
to helping them.
And as we say, we're all in this together, not so much for Canberra or the state politicians or the public servants, because they're not in it with us, but the rest of us are, and we've got to look after each other and start to show, as they would say, show some love.
Mike, you're so right, and the penny's dropped with me being back in Parliament for the last 4 years, and I got back in it because I love this country. I care about the people and try and make a difference. And I think that most politicians go in there with that attitude. But talking to the public, they've given up. They feel absolutely hopeless that no one's really listening to them. It's all about us. We've only, it's all about ourselves, what's in our pay packet, But at the end of the day, I really care about what I'm doing. I'm trying to make a difference for people's lives. And so there's not a hopelessness about it. And I'll tell people out there, it's really up to you. If you want to throw in the towel and you don't want to take an interest in the policies and what people stand for and look at the candidates and and know how to vote, that really upsets me that people are whinging, where are your preferences going? Well, I'm sorry, it is the voter that holds the ballot paper. You are the one that marks that paper. Your vote will go where you mark that ballot paper. I have nothing to do with it. So I'd suggest to people out there, if you really want change, you're fed up, then go and take an interest, understand why you're voting for a party, look at their policies, and it's all up to you now. That's all I say.
Pauline Hanson, let me tell you, you are making a difference. Enjoy Queensland, magnificent countryside. The scenery is to die for. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Everyone, take care and be safe. Bye.